Hello there, woman beings, and welcome to the Woman Being Podcast. I'm here today with the lovely Emma and the lovely Kellyanne.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to you both. Welcome to all of us. Today, we're going to talk about a very fun subject, which is the topic of the upper regions, the upper nether regions, you might say, boobicles, the boobies, the breasts, and I have two experts here in different respects. Maybe three experts, honestly. We have three experts here. We've all had boobs and we all have boobs.
we have had and have.
And will have.
And continue to
have boobs. And
yes,
so that
every single one of us.
And so that is what we're going to talk about today. We've gotten some of your feedback. Excited to share some of that. We've gotten, some expert advice from a former bra specialist, continued bra specialist, and a bra burner, you might say, and, just someone else with boobs. So,
oh, my word.
We're going to dive right in just a minute. This is Woman Being,
where we explore thoughts and opinions.
And have the freedom to change our minds.
Without expectation or judgment,
we will hold a safe space and support each other
as we navigate together in the form of feminine.
And we're back. To start off this episode, I actually just want to do a little reminder at the top of the episode to give us a follow on Instagram, a review on Apple Podcasts. That's a big help for us. But you can follow us at Woman Being Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. We also have a website, womanbeingcommunity.com. And so give us a follow, give us a chat. This episode today, we have some discussion topics that we asked your opinion about and are going to come into play today. So if you really want to be interacting with us and giving us your thoughts and giving us topics to discuss and, contributing to the episodes that we're doing, that's a great way to interact. And we love it. So
you get into our little world.
That's just our little top plug. A topless plug.
Oh.
It's like a shameless plug, but you're topless, which is also,
exactly.
It's a topless plug. So, at the top of the episode.
And maybe you should be shameless when you're topless. I don't know. Some
maybe you should.
say.
Maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe that's a topic we're going to discuss today. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
To lead us in, I was thinking it'd be fun to just talk about some of the fun. Boobs are, to me, a very funny concept. They're just these,
Sacks of flesh.
Yeah, they're just these soft pillows that sort of exist on your chest. Mm-hmm. They're kind of weird looking, if you ask me.
They are.
But weird. They're also really hot.
Yes.
But also physically hot. Boob sweat is real. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, first question: what is your favorite word for boobs?
Honestly, I think I'm pretty boring because I just like to say boobs. I have when I think about the word breasts, I think of chicken breast.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like meat.
Yes. Yeah. And I think Tatas is kind of fun, but titties feels sort of demeaning for some reason to me. And bosom is a fun word to use to throw people off. Sometimes I'll say bosom in a funny story if it applies and I'm talking about breasts for some reason. But I just used breast. Interesting. Maybe it doesn't always make me think of chicken. Maybe I do like to use that one.
I feel like breast is used exclusively when you're talking about breastfeeding or breast as the function of the thing itself. No one says oh, you just touched my breast. That's just weird.
I think someone might say that.
Really?
I feel like now that I'm processing this in real time right now. You're watching this. I think that to me breast can make me think of chicken, but also feels sort of almost like a more sort of scientific way of talking about it. Feels medical. So if I'm speaking about boobs in that sort of realm, or maybe if I'm trying to sound a little bit more, elevated, a little more mature, then I might say the breast.
Yeah, breast sounds like something your mom would say to talk about boobs to make it not awkward.
Yeah.
And it just makes it more awkward.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know what makes me feel awkward? Is boobies.
Really?
Oh.
I feel like that's something a child would say.
I like boobies.
It's sort of it freaks me out in the same way that it sort of freaks me out when adult men call their mom mommy, you know, like that sort of feeling. It's like boobies. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boobies.
Boobies.
I think that's super fair, though. I like that you go with the classic, you know, the timeless.
Keep it simple. Boobs.
I feel like, though, a grandma would call your boobs, like, bosom. You know, that feels very, like, old-timey to me. Very classic.
Little Old Testament.
Yeah. But I mean, in normal day-to-day life, I like boobs, but I personally really like tits. I think, to me, it feels just like fun, short, sweet, simple. Everyone knows what you're saying when you say tits. So that's kind of my favorite. But my surprise one that I like to throw out once in a while is chesticles. Because, let's get real, the boobs are kind of
like
the testicles of the upper body.
Yeah.
But they're much more appealing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like it's like
Probably
sort of
less smelly.
soft and defenseless.
Yeah.
And like, you know, just sort of there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you hit it at the wrong
It's
time of the month,
crippling.
it could be very
It's
painful.
crippling.
But the function of them is sort of, they're just
They
like hanging
knock
there.
around.
Yeah.
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 I can see that. I can see that.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tits sometimes makes me think of like, hey, toots, like, hey,
the
tits.
I am also a regular user of the word boobs.
Yeah.
I've never actually thought personally what my favorite word for boobs is. I will say titties or tits is probably my least favorite words.
Really?
Favorite word.
Yeah.
Because it feels very demeaning to me.
Yeah.
It feels like, I don't know.
I guess I just associate that
Feels
with
like
like
pussy or-
skeevy guys saying, but I also feel like I see some sort of like more like feministy figures like using it in a way of maybe almost like reclaiming the term.
Yeah.
But it feels like, I think of like creepy guys saying like, look at her tits.
Yeah.
Look at those titties.
Yeah.
But
It's fair.
And I mean, to be fair, like, these are not titties.
those are tatas.
These are tatas. These are titas. You know, like,
Sure.
are there any other words that we have heard?
I heard knockers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shelf.
That's a good one.
Shelf. My sister calls them her mosquito bites.
Yes.
Because she has small
I would be
fingers.
part
That's
of
amazing.
the mosquito bite gang a little bit, I
It
think.
was so cute.
It's really
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
Mine's like a mosquito bite, like, from the Amazon that I'm really allergic to.
Yeah. Someone with an
Someone
extreme
get her
allergic
really
reaction.
penicillin.
I really need to go to the doctor right now.
She needs an EpiPen.
So, next question. Do your boobs have a name?
Mine do not. I'm boring again. They're just my boobs.
They're just your boobs. Okay.
I hate to break it to you.
Wow, that's really boring.
Yeah, sorry. It's a womp
Kelly?
I mean, I have definitely felt the need to have names for my boobs in the past and definitely have named them at times. But I always forget what they're called because they're not real.
I wouldn't
people.
remember if I did,
I'm
you know?
pretty sure it was something like that felt very seductive. Like one was Veronica and then the other one was like Chelsea. But let's get real. Like I forget.
For sure.
I feel like it'd be fun to name my boobs like Thelma and Louise or something. So it's like referencing.
From henceforth, your boobs are known as Helma and Louise.
Amazing. I love that. That's perfect because they're feminist icons from their movies.
You know,
So
those are
Thelma and Louise.
like Betty White.
I love that, actually. Can we keep that? Can that
you
be
could
it?
also just
that'd be
like
good.
call them the Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls.
Which, by the way,
amazing.
me and James are rewatching The Golden Girls. We are for the first time watching The Golden Girls, and I love it.
Wow.
It's
I actually want to
hilarious.
watch it. I mean, with
I've
everything-
never watched it.
Comedically, it's pretty like iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely dated, you know, like the style used to be overacting, but like the lines and the writing is like a lot of it is pretty timeless. I've
Yeah.
been really impressed.
And there's a lot of like very feminist themes that you see in that show that
Super feminist.
like were
I think
pretty
that-
like out there for the time, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Talking
I
about
think-
60-year-old women betting their ex-husbands.
Yeah.
Like, wild.
Yeah.
It actually, though, too, makes me feel like I'm learning more about my grandma. because I used to,
Like
that
her
was
generation.
like her show. She like
Yeah.
loved the Golden Girls, and I'm like, Grandma, you were like a rebel. Like, I remember like playing on the floor and her watching the Golden Girls and like not knowing what any of the stuff meant. But I'm like, I remember her laughing at those jokes, and those are some dirty jokes, okay? I'm like, Grandma had a sense of humor.
Another thing too is we know our boobs are different. No two boobs are alike, even on the same chest. Some are a little bit more swollen, a little less swollen, a little perkier, a little, they're different. So do either of you and or your partners have a favorite boob?
I would say I favor my right boob. Just because it never bothers me. My left one is a little more to the side, and it gets in the way sometimes. But James happens to favor the left boob.
So they both have a favorite.
We both have favorites. But no, I like what you said, though, because, like, nipples point in different directions. It's very normal for one boob to be bigger than the other. One of mine is bigger than the other. And I think that's something super normal.
And you're a boob specialist. Like, you've seen all the boobs.
I have seen hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of boobs. I don't want to say thousands upon thousands because that feels potentially inaccurate, but I'm like at least above 500.
That's a lot of boobs.
Wow.
It's a lot of boobs.
That is really a lot.
So you heard it from the person who's seen.
And if you add
Case
them up
study.
by individual boob, could be like
That is
1,000.
But Emma, what's your deal? Do you have a favorite boob?
Again, this is the theme of this episode. Emma's boring. Don't worry, I'll get more exciting later, probably. Wink.
She's got stuff to say. Stay tuned. I
Yeah.
just did a really bad wink. I was like,
Well, it's a good thing this is an audio medium, and half the people listening to
well,
this
for
probably won't
anyone
see it.
listening, I blinked with both eyes.
Amazing. You blinked with
It's
both
just
eyes?
blinking. It's not winking at all.
Winked with both eyes.
I blinked with a winking face.
She thought she was winking. It was just a blink. All that to say, honestly, I'm just like, I don't pay enough attention to my boobs. I don't have a favorite necessarily. Couldn't even tell you what's different about them. So, although my left boob does sometimes get like, my left boob gets itchier than my right boob. So maybe I like my right boob better because it doesn't like
bother you.
It doesn't. Yeah,
She's
sort of
just
is
there.
very chill. Yeah, she's just like hanging out, whereas my left boob is like, give me a dead jed and itchy.
Fair. Super fair.
That's fair.
So.
That's fair. I think left boob is what I lean. I don't have any reason for that. It just intuitively feels right. So, but
Listen to your heart.
I don't know. I feel like my right boob,
Right under your boob.
maybe because my right arm is more muscular in general because I'm right-handed. It just feels like my right boob is more like, huh. My left boob is like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm just hanging out.
She's just there.
She's the dainty one. I don't know. When did you guys get your boobs?
Oh, I got my boobs young, I feel like, because I started my period young. So my body was like flooded with all of the hormones. So I think I got my boobs, like started getting them, like can't not wear a bra around like 10, 11. And like full bra, like we've got boobs at like 12. I've been about the same size ever since I was like 13. Like just
Whoa.
everything.
Just
Like my
full
body.
on boobs. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I got them young.
Totally.
Yeah, I did not. I feel like I'm honestly not 100% sure, but I definitely feel like I started wearing like a cami. Do you guys remember the cami?
Oh, I sure do.
For anyone that doesn't know what a cami is, or a camisole, if you want to go for the full name, it was just tank tops that had a little built-in flap with a little elastic, maybe, that like pretended to sort of be a bra. And I started with that, being like, oh, I need something to just sort of, because I can't have my blossoming bosom like exposed. So I remember wearing those maybe around 5th or 6th grade. And then gradually in the next preceding years, I think I started wearing like actual bras. And then my boobs pretty much were the same ever since, but not in the way that yours were, Kellyanne. More like they've been the size of a 7th graders ever since.
Super. I will say they reproportion themselves. You know, things shift as you get older, especially your like early 20s. It's like, oh, this is my full woman body. But yeah, they were just there.
Yeah, I remember I had a friend who was a year older than me, and so she, like, did all the things before I did. Like, she shaved first, she got boobs first, she, you know, got her period first and stuff. So she was kind of like my older sister. And I remember, maybe it was 4th grade for me or for her, I don't remember, but she got breast buds.
What?
And I don't know if this is a word that they call it, but it was like when you start to feel the, like, little... So you know how there's, like, the hard pieces in your breast?
What?
You know, like, just a little, like, there's something there.
I feel like I need to, like...
The glands, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just, there's something in there. And when she was pretty flat-chested still, but she's like, I have breast buds. And I was like, okay. And
I've been watering them all year. And they're finally starting to sprout.
And I can't remember if her mom was like, Kelly, you should feel them, or if she didn't let me feel them, but wanted me to feel. I don't remember what it was. But I remember when I was like maybe 5th grade. I can't remember what age I was. I was like, I have breast buds, yay! And then that was when we went and got the training bras and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe breast buds is not a thing.
I mean, maybe it is in your area of the country.
But you just start to feel the breast forming.
Yeah,
like, you're still flat-chested, but there's, like, a little gland
it's
there.
It's like, oh, this is, like,
I don't know what the substance is in there, but whatever that substance is a really tiny amount, and you can, like, feel it.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Speaking of substances, side story. So, you know, like, when you're young, you sort of start to understand, oh, breasts there for breastfeeding eventually. That is sort of the purpose on a woman of boobs.
I don't think that ever occurred to me, but yes.
I started to learn that, and I was like, oh, okay, what's something on my body that is similar to this in consistency and texture? And that was the calf. And so I thought, well, those must be filled with milk as well.
And they are called a calf.
Exactly.
It's very
this is all adding up for me at the time. And I was like, I think these things on my legs must also have milk in them, but I guess it never comes out because there's no nipples there for them to go out. But little me was like, I'm pretty sure this is the same thing as the things on my chest that
so
are
funny.
growing. And I don't know where I got that from. I was a very imaginative kid, so.
I love that. I think you should one day tell children that. Be like,
yes, I love spreading misinformation to children.
Oh, it's fun to make shit up to kids, just like a little bit.
It's exactly what they need, is more misunderstanding
just
about
like
sexual health and how their body works.
Well, no. You let them believe it for like an hour.
Yeah.
Then you
turn
were like,
into a lesson,
okay, I was
maybe.
lying, I'm sorry, but
It's
this
kind of
was
like
funny.
if you swallow a watermelon seed, it's going to grow.
Oh, I fully
in your
believed
stomach.
that for years.
Yeah.
Or if
like-
you swallow gum.
Like
Yeah.
into like
Then you're
too
done
old
for.
of an age. Like I was like 15 and I was like, fuck. Like I cannot swallow a watermelon seed.
Oh, no.
And it was because my cousins lied to me. They told me that.
man.
And then they didn't do the hour later, like I'm going to tell you the truth, but I lied to you because it was funny. Anyway.
One thing I remember, probably, earlier childhood, me and my friends would do dress up, right? You guys played dress up. And we like to occasionally like stuff some socks in there
Totally.
or something to like feel a little bit more womanly.
Some tennis balls.
Yeah. And so it was sort of like the experimentation. Tennis balls.
Oh,
Dang,
yeah.
You guys.
We just like do it.
Kind of like you shove your stuffed animal in your shirt to pretend you're pregnant and then you give birth to a, giraffe or something.
Yeah.
If only.
But that's what I'm remembering. But what was your guys' relationship to boobs as you grew up and went through puberty? Because it felt like, to me, I started out with a pretty innocent, I want to be a woman too. Like, boobs are cool. I want to someday have them. And then you sort of get into puberty and it's real and you have breast buds or you're wearing a camisole or, whatever it is. And you're trying to figure out the bra situation. And then suddenly you're an adult.
I mean, for me, it was mostly pretty chill because I have such small boobs. It was sort of like, okay, these are here now. I don't know. Like I didn't feel a lot of like, I didn't put a lot of thought into them. I feel like it was just sort of like, they're there. I would sometimes be fearful of like wearing a loose shirt and like leaning over and someone like seeing my boobs down shirt. But I didn't really like have to worry about like clothes that showed too much cleavage or like even like not really fitting, because I just like didn't really have much boob to get in the way, if that makes sense. But yeah, like nip slips or cleavage slips, if you want to call them that. Like, I feel like as like when you're like in the pubescent age, it's very like, it's a very big deal as like everyone's getting boobs and everyone's like whatever. And like, I think sometimes I felt a little bit insecure about having small boobs, but mostly I've been thankful for having small boobs. So I was kind of like, these are here. I'll keep them to myself pretty much. That's the end of the story.
I actually really loved having boobs. I mean, I just kind of loved feeling like I was like blossoming into a woman. And
the buds were turning
the
into
buds were
flowers.
Bulbs. Buds to bulbs.
buds to bulbs. But I mean, there was also like an insecurity of like, oh, I feel like they should be bigger, or like I was a ballerina, and so I loved like wearing my leotards because I felt like my beautiful body was like being shown, but outside of dance class, it was like, oh, you should really cover that up. So it was weird because there was like that outlet in dance and in ballet, and I was the girl that was like, I'm not wearing shorts with my leotard, you're welcome. But also on the other side, it's like when you're going shopping, you're like, oh my gosh, like gotta make sure like no like boob crack shows. I mean, I remember like stupid stuff.
Having a boob crack.
Boob crack. Well, Emma,
It's like buying a lot of high neck shirts.
To really, even like pushing as much as possible my breasts together, there's not a crack. There's just
That means you can do the
canyon.
deep V. You can do the deep
you can
V.
really
People
do a
like the
deep V.
yeah. And then it'll be like, oh yes, look, there is nothing.
But it's sexy though.
It is
I don't
sexy.
know. I've always felt like small boobs are really beautiful. Because like, I mean, the majority of swimsuits these days favor the smaller boobs, and like dresses and low cut things like that. Like there are just some things that you just can't wear if you have larger boobs. And I feel like small boobs, I don't know, they were always pretty to me.
Yeah,
side boob.
I did do a deep V to my mom's wedding last month, and everyone was like, oh, look at that. And I was like, yes, here I am, and I don't even have to worry about it because my boobs will not come out.
Whereas for me, if I wore something like that, people would not be like, ooh, look at you. They'd be like, I'm not going to say
like,
anything
whoa.
because I can see so much boob.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But that's actually one of the funny things about me growing up. It started out like being very pro boob, and I wanted to look womanly and whatever. And then getting into like the modesty portion of my life was very rough, but I never felt insecure about the boobs themselves. Like I always thought they were nice looking, you know? So I was like, oh, they're nice boobs, but never felt like I could show them or have them around or whatever. And then on top of that, I had friends who leaned more in the plus size category, who definitely had more boob than I, and kind of, I was like the small chested, small butt friend, which
that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Which is not true at all. I definitely have.
Yes.
It's not true. So I definitely had the perception of my boobs as small, and of my curves as, you know, I thought I was like flat and stick and beanstalk, and everyone sort of called me those things. And it wasn't until I actually got sized out of Victoria's Secret for real that I was like, oh, that is not the case.
I'm not an A-cup?
I have been wrong about my boobs all this time. So, I kind of, I don't know if I was insecure about it, but I always felt, maybe I just never really understood them until I grew up and matured a little bit more. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of awkward when you're like, you're gaining them. I mean, everything about you is awkward at that time. Yeah. So it's like every new development on your body, it's like, what do I do with this?
Yes. Yeah, I never, other than like low cut shirts, that was my biggest concern, is like swimsuits. Oh my gosh. that's a whole thing. We could do a whole episode on freaking swimsuits. But I had a hard time finding shirts that were high enough that also felt cute. And then I had a hard time finding swimsuits that gave me the coverage that I felt that I needed and was pressured to have in addition to feeling comfortable in and cute in. So that's probably my biggest boob debacle.
Yeah.
Not to mention button-down shirts, man.
Oh, but that's still a problem. It's either a sale or it's got a hole.
Yep.
In between the boob.
Yep.
A sail is in like it's just so big
Yeah.
that you just look like you're gonna.
Or if you like
Sail
turn to
away.
the side
If
and
the
it's
wind
just
blows,
like,
you'll start moving in one direction.
oh, literally. Yep.
But that's a big question there is, as we're growing up and trying to like figure out how to cover it, this all kind of ties into the modesty culture that we were raised in. And how did that affect you? And what are your reflections on kind of modesty culture and boobs?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I remember like not buying the cute tops because I was like, oh, it'll show my boobs and that's the worst. I remember, oh my gosh, do you remember when the biggest internal struggle was to front hug or side hug?
Oh, yeah.
Dear God, it was like, oh my God, but I don't want to put my boobs on him. And I'm like, he's going to be thinking about your boobs anyways. Just live your life, queen. But like, I mean, I remember I used to buy like push-up bras, not because I wanted to make my bras look bigger, but out of the utter fear that my nipples might poke through the bra.
So extra
I was
padding.
just, I want extra padding.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I want as much padding as possible to keep them hidden.
Do you have some stubborn nipples that really?
I mean, I don't know what the scale of stubborn nipple is, but I was like mortified.
Just like very worried. You're like, I'm going to take every precaution.
Yeah, it's
ensure.
like when you're on your period and you have a tampon and a pad like going on and you're still mortified and terrified that you're going to bleed through your pants. It's like that irrational like teenage girl fear. But it was like the worst thing possible that could happen would be someone seeing my nipples like through a shirt.
Yeah.
But then again, like in dance class, it was just like free as a bird. You don't wear a bra. What are you talking about? You just like do it. And it's very freeing. And so it was like this really interesting, weird push and pull.
Yeah, you
sides.
have a lot of stories like that where sort of you were free in dance, but then like in church, not free.
No.
Like you sort of have your outlet to be a woman and just be comfortable in your body. And then, which is, it's crazy that a woman can be more comfortable in her body in a dance class than in a church.
Right. 100%.
Like that's a bummer.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think that overall the church has a lot of issues with that kind of thing, of people feeling unsafe in church when church really should be a very safe space, theoretically. But that is a whole tangent. And
That's another episode.
Yeah, that is. And we've talked about it lots of times. So, listen to our episodes all about church or Christianity. But I definitely relate to the idea of like the hug debate or the hug struggle. I remember reading in I Kiss Dating Goodbye by
Joshua
Mr.
Harris.
Joshua Harris, the classic modesty/purity culture book, about how like a friend of his would always look forward to hugging his crush at youth group because he would get to feel her breasts on his chest. And there I'm using breast again. Wow, I really like breast.
You really do. Breast. You actually might be like
I think
breast.
I actually do.
Yeah.
Anyways, I read that story and I was like, never hugging a boy front chest again. Never. And for years, exclusively side hugged my guy friends, if I even hugged them at all. Like I was sort of like, I'm just not going to hug boys. And then I remember I had a close guy friend in later high school, and we started becoming closer, and I eventually was like, okay, I'll hug you because like I trust you. Or like if I had a boyfriend, I'd be like, okay, I'll hug you because you're my boyfriend, but no other boys get that show,
Was there ever like an awkward like, oh, here's a hug, and you're like, no, I don't hug boys. Like, did that happen? Like, how did you manage that sort of conversation? Or did you just avoid it without talking about it? Or how did you?
Honestly, I'm trying to remember. I think that I did sort of like, I would turn guys down. I'd be like, oh, sorry, like, I don't really hug guys. And like, usually it was Christian boys who I was saying this to. So they were sort of like, oh, okay. Because like, that
like, yeah,
was
that
like
makes
part of the
sense.
culture. Yeah. Like it's not like I was saying this there weren't like random guys who were trying to hug me
Sure.
who didn't like have a frame of reference for Christian culture.
Yeah.
Because pretty much all my guy friends in high school came from church and not from like any other realms. So yeah, and it sort of like became known like, oh, like Emma doesn't really hug guys, so don't try to hug her.
Yeah.
And like literally I remember it being a big deal when like I did hug a guy, like when I did allow that to be breached, it was like, oh, like this is a new level for us as a friend or as a romantic partner.
For me, and maybe this was a problem for you as well, because we're both tall ladies. I always had the issue of like the head to boob situation or head to bosom.
Yeah.
Come into my bosom. So I was
I
always
would
like,
definitely worry about that.
I mastered the bend over hug.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
You sort of just concave
lean,
yourself.
yeah.
Quasimodo it. It's fine.
Yeah, try to like
Sort of
make
do the,
it so
like,
it's like,
butt
no, I
tilt.
don't have any boobs.
Yeah, and they
Just
sort of
like
just touch shoulder and
cavern.
you kind of like tap and then
Yeah.
you're done.
Wow.
But,
I get that. And I worried about that too, especially because boys tend to like shoot up later than women. And
Yes.
so a lot of boys would be shorter than me for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, oh, you're right there. Like if I were to hug you, it would be face and boobs.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
can't.
Well, my youth group had such a huggy culture. Like
Mm.
we did a little like chat time. You know, we do the like the worship of the announcements, and then it's like go say hi to someone you've never talked to before.
Oh.
But then it was just all of us. We were all friends. Like it wasn't like there were new people, but you know, we're all friends, and we go around and hug each other, and you have to get a hug from everybody. You know.
Oh my word.
And I never was insecure specifically about hugging them. I mean, other than like you do the lean forward, you know, so that you're not necessarily body to body.
Yeah, you just like tilt one shoulder in.
Yeah.
Just like space.
Yeah, or a side hug's always good. But yeah, I never like, to me, the boob touching situation was never my biggest concern. It was always like the cleavage situation. That was always like whenever I bent over, I had my hand like kind of on my upper chest to like
Oh yeah.
cover up any possibility that a shirt could fall or that someone could look at me while I'm
Oh yeah, you
bending
master
over.
that.
Yeah.
You hand on chest, bend over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still do that some days, sometimes when I'm like at work or in a situation where I don't necessarily feel safe. But
Yeah. And I mean, for me with clothes, my boobs didn't get as like regulated again because of the smallness. It was very easy to wear clothes that didn't show off my boobs. It was more my legs that got regulated. It was like short lengths, which you probably can relate to this, Kelly, being
yeah.
tall as well. It's
dresses were just
dresses and shorts. I could never find things that fit the like quote unquote modesty requirements and like looked okay on me at the same time because my legs are just so long that anything looks like it's really short in comparison when someone who was much shorter could wear that and it wouldn't look immodest.
But I think one of the big issues with that is we talk about like how our culture over-sexualizes the female body, right? And I think, in my opinion, I think the church is actually one of the worst perpetrators of that in the way that they censor and cover up women's bodies. It's essentially kind of like a reaction, I think, to the sexualization of women's bodies in media, is we're like, oh, we don't want that, so now we're going to cover up here because it is sexual and it is like, a tempting object, and we want to keep it covered up.
Which just using the word object is a problem.
Well, I'm saying object.
Yes.
But,
no, I'm not saying you using it. It's the fact that people will say, like, this is a tempting object, or this is like
A stumbling block.
It is
a block,
objectifying people.
Like essentially equating our bodies to, a block.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any sort of tempting thing. It's not an object. It's a body. It's a person. So, but what are your thoughts kind of about the hypersexualization of women's bodies? Do you think our bodies can be celebrated without being sexualized? Like, where do you think the line is in terms of like where the media goes and where the church goes? Like, we're kind of opposite ends, or maybe even not opposite ends. I honestly think we're like the same spectrum, but different manifestations of.
I
the same
definitely
thing.
agree. I have a story actually that's sort of like it bridges the church thing and the over-sexualization thing. Which is, at one point when I was on the mission field, myself and a bunch of other people who I was on the mission field with, we went on a trip for a weekend to a totally different part of the country that we were in. And like this country was very, very, like their Christian culture was super, super modest. But since we were so far away from sort of our like base that we were staying at, a lot of the rules didn't apply anymore for us because we were no longer like, quote unquote, in our mission field, you know, because we were taking a quick like vacation weekend trip. Anyways, we were like doing this activity where we went volcano boarding, and at the top of this volcano, all the women, we decided it would be really fun to take our shirts off and take a photo with our shirts off wearing just sports bras. Because like we had all cornrowed our hair and we were wearing these like jumpsuit looking things that made it look like we were like in prison, essentially. They were like orange prison jumpsuits, and that was what you wore to protect yourself when you went volcano boarding.
Wow.
And so we were like, oh, we're trying to look like tough, and like maybe we shouldn't have like, you know, I made it seem like fun to look like you're in prison, but we'll leave that there. The whole point
Take
was
that as you may.
Yeah. The whole point was that we decided to take this photo where we all took our shirts off and like had one of the guys who was with us take the photo, and all the other guys who were with us turned around and like didn't look because they all felt very uncomfortable with us taking our shirts off and showing just our sports bras and then wearing our like baggy jumpsuits on the bottom half. And after this photo was taken, when we were like back at our base, all this stuff, there was like a family meeting where we all got in trouble for doing this. And basically we were told that we were like dishonoring the men that we were with. We were told that we were dishonoring the like native people who were our guides that were there. It was like a huge debate, and then like some of the guys that were with us felt uncomfortable. Some of them were like, I don't care what you do, like this is dumb that we're talking about this. And like some of the women were like, oh, I feel like I sort of regret doing that. And some of the women were like, I don't understand why you have a problem with this. Like it's not like we were like even naked or anything.
Right.
Like we are wearing the equivalent of a swimsuit, if even, like probably more covered up than swimsuits often are. And so it turned into this whole thing, and it was very infuriating and frustrating. And it felt like just because we like revealed a little bit more of our skin and like our breasts were part of that because we were wearing sports bras, it was blown so out of proportion. Whereas like if the guys had taken a shirtless photo at the top of the volcano, it would have been no big deal. And I get that there are like cultural norms in different places, but we were a large group of Americans with a tour guide who like I'm sure interacts with Americans all the time, and like and at that point in time we were on vacation essentially, so not necessarily held to the same standard of the culture that we were around. And I don't know, it was like all that to say, it was like a super frustrating situation.
Yeah.
And it felt like I'm being like chastised for having boobs, essentially. Like I'm getting in trouble for doing something just because I have boobs. And I felt like it wasn't right.
Yeah.
I felt like it didn't make any sense. Like I get like assimilating to a culture and being respectful of a culture, but we were on top of a volcano. Like we weren't like in the culture, we weren't doing things, and like we weren't even like posting this photo around everywhere or anything. Like we just have it. We just thought it would be fun.
Yeah.
And it turned like what was supposed to be a lighthearted fun situation into like a like triggering situation, honestly, and like what felt like a dark cloud over that whole trip. And I think at the end of the day, it's that over-sexualization, and then like at the same time the church's concern with modesty and like regulating how women use their bodies.
Honestly, everyone knows everyone that grew up in religion or in church knows what you're talking about when you say the family sit-down meeting, and they're the worst, and they're the most traumatizing, and you literally have so much anxiety, and you're like, I'm getting in trouble, I'm in trouble, I don't want to be in trouble because my goodness, for some reason, is directly connected to whether I'm in trouble or not. It's like really the worst.
How much skin I show.
And how much skin I show, and at the end of the day, it's just shaming women.
Yeah. And then somehow we're supposed to you know.
Yes, I will serve the Lord better next time.
Right. But then somehow we're supposed to be fully sexual once we get married after being told and we're not talking about oh, you were chastised a little bit. We're talking about public shaming of women. And this idea that the men have been dishonored. That's traumatic. That's very different than oh, we're shopping and let's pick this shirt instead of that shirt. You know? And I had this happen many times, too many times growing up, where I was pulled aside and I was told to wear a different shirt. Or I remember I was in a talent show and me and my friend went and picked out matching shirts together so that we could do the talent show and be matching. And afterward, my parents weren't good job. They were yeah, you're not going to wear that shirt again. You know? So it's wild to me that boobs have become this huge, I don't know, threatening presence in the church, especially when we see the opposite end of it is it's a huge non-threatening but very sexual presence in a lot of media. I think of Game of Thrones as a good example. A lot of women are yeah, free the nipple, whatever, we should be able to be topless, it's not a big deal. But then on the other end, knowing that women's bodies in that show are explicitly being used for the purpose of attracting the male audience. And so, and not in a positive way, but in a sexualized way. And so I definitely see it in both places. And I feel the solution is not cover up more or less. I feel it's let's start training our young boys to respect women's bodies.
Yeah. I agree. And it's really interesting. I did a poll on Instagram, and 100% of the people that participated in the poll agreed that boobs are over-sexualized.
Oh, yeah.
But then there was a little bit of a split between celebrated in our culture versus shamed in our culture. And then I had a really great conversation over DMs with someone about boobs are celebrated in media celebrity world, but it's only if you meet the standard.
Yeah.
And that standard is enforced on everyone else. And if you don't meet that standard, then you're shamed for it. But then there's all the Christian culture and all that stuff that plays into it as well. And then there's slut shaming, but then it's praised. And it's over in the very public platforms. And it's very confusing for, I'm sure, young women, but even at my age, it is you're still decoding all of these weird, subtle messages. And wait, but they can do that and I can't. Why?
Yeah. I feel the conversation around boobs often swings between those extremes. It's either super sexual and celebrated or too sexual and shamed. It feels there's not often an in-between. Even if you think about breastfeeding, women, you can't breastfeed because this is too sexual. And it's a baby is getting nutrition and that's sexual to you? I don't understand how that's connected. And there's also the whole conversation of what even is the difference between a male nipple and a female nipple.
Yeah.
None. In fact, men can even lactate at times, there's
it's been known to happen.
Yes. The only difference is that women literally breastfeed from them.
Yeah.
That is the only difference.
Yeah.
And
it's based on your hormones. There are men with hormone imbalances that develop mastitis, which is male breast tissue. It's very, I don't know the right, arbitrary? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
I actually listened to an interview with a sex and research expert, Esther Perel, I think is how you say her name. She wrote Mating in Captivity and The State of Affairs, and she's brilliant. And she talked about how breasts are really sexualized for women, and for some reason we're seeing this huge thing in men where it's like, no, I should not feel sexual pleasure from my like nipples or my breasts. And actually there's the same like nerve endings in men as there is in women. But like when you think of boobs, that's instantly like a sexual thing. It can be more sexual than like a butt or like your vagina for some reason. And she talks about this weird thing we're seeing in our culture and how men are actually shut off to sexual pleasure in other areas of their body because they associate the boobs with women and women's pleasure. And it's really interesting.
In our culture, at least, legally in the United States, you can show all of your boob except for the nipple. Like, you can be in public and show the entire thing as long as the nipples are covered up. So what do you guys think? Like, free the nipple? Like, is it the boob that's sexual? Is it the nipple that's sexual? Is it both? Like, why is there this arbitrary, like, women's nipples specifically are not okay? What do you guys think? We took a poll on this, free the nipple or not, and we got some mixed reviews.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Honestly, I feel very, like, in between on this. Partly, I think so much of it is cultural. I think that there's places in the world where you can go and women have their boobs out and it's totally fine and nobody cares or thinks twice about it. And I think that that's great. I think that at the end of the day, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But, like, so much of what we do and how we present ourselves is just following the cultural norms of where we are, right? Like, we wear certain clothes, we have our hair certain ways, we wear certain kinds of makeup. Like, everything that we do is ascribing to a general cultural, like, tradition that we follow. So in the United States, people dress a certain way. It's very different from how somebody in, say, Southeast Asia might dress.
Right.
But that doesn't make it wrong necessarily. I think that where things start to get hairy or whatever for me is when there is so much like concern around women's nipples showing. There's a lot of just like almost like repulsion, which feels very unnecessary. And in some ways, like in my own, like, you know, feminist rage, I'm like, well, why do men get to do it and we don't, you know? Like, why? I don't get it. And, but I also think that like so much of it depends on the context that you're in. I mean, there's nude beaches, even here in the United States, that you can go to and you can be totally naked. And that's fine there. But if you go to a non-nude beach and if a woman were to take her top off, like her bikini top off, as a man is also taking his top off, it feels totally different.
Totally.
You know? It's sort of a mind trip to me, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is definitely very cultural. I mean, like you've got Africa, Europe, some parts of Asia, some indigenous communities that's like, whatever, it's boobs. But also, I do think free the nipple, especially when it comes to moms and nursing mothers. But there's also, this is another great conversation I was having via DMs with someone, but also like, it would be weird if a man walked into an office building without a shirt on.
Yeah.
And also, we are all expected to wear pants. No shirt, no shoes, no service. You know, that kind of idea. So I do think there's context and cultural norms that need to fall into place. But also, like, if I was at a nude beach, I'd take my top off. Like,
Heck yeah.
Get these sweet, pale girls some sun.
But put a lot of sunscreen on because
like,
they're probably going to
so
burn
much.
because they haven't seen a lot of light.
So much sunscreen. I have to put on as much sunscreen as a newborn baby. So yeah, I think it's both. And it was actually really interesting because I got several messages from people that are like, yes, I want free the nipple, but also not necessarily something I would want to practice because of the attention it might draw. And it's like, for some reason, this is cultural, right? Women showing their bodies or being in their own body and just living their life is begging for attention for some reason.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't get. At least for me, free the nipple to me is very similar to an argument like pro-choice. Like, there are many, 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 many women out there who are pro-choice, and men, who are pro-choice but don't necessarily want that decision for themselves, right? Like, you can agree, hey, I think this is a right to be given to people, but I personally feel morally, like, compromised by that, or I personally would not make that decision for myself. And that's at least how I approach free the nipple as a concept. Like, I think it is absolutely ridiculous that any, nursing mother would have to hide herself. Like, we're not talking about like, oh, go sit in a nice nursery and feed your baby. We're talking about you're at Disney World and you have to go sit in a tiny, disgusting bathroom so that you can feed your child and not, like, offend anyone. I think that's way too dumb. I don't know. Like, it's 89 degrees and 97% humidity, and you don't want to be sitting in a hot bathroom breastfeeding your child. Like, you want to be able to, like, do that whenever you need to. So I do think, like, the idea of a woman's nipple, especially if the rest of the boob is not, like, censored or what's the word, prosecuted. I don't know, but, like, you can show most of your nipple and not receive nudity charges or whatever. But but if you show the nipple, then that's where the problem. And I'm like, that's dumb. Like, men show their nipples all the time. They have no concern of being, like, prosecuted against or whatever. And, like, it's a nipple. So in my mind, I'm not necessarily, like, ready to show up to work shirtless and call it good, but
I mean, probably most people would not anyways.
And I don't think
unless you're, I don't know, a lifeguard.
Yeah. And I don't think if free the nipple was, accepted, I don't think people would do that. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's the purpose
of
the
not
idea
what it's
of free
about.
the nipple. It's
Absolutely.
not like we just want to be all nudists now.
Yeah.
That's not what people are saying.
Yeah.
I think people often bring it to that extreme when they're in opposition. They're like, well, if women can show their nipples, they're just going to walk around naked all the time. And it's like...
I mean, I don't walk around without pants. I don't walk around without shoes.
No.
Like, it's just...
Like, I'm going to wear my shoes and my shorts or my pants or, like, I have to go to work and, like, function. So, obviously, I wouldn't wear a bikini to work. I'm not going to wear nothing to work. Like, I think people hear free the nipple and they think... nudist. We're all going to be naked and it's just going to be inappropriate. And it's like, yes, there are certain clothes and certain types of dress that are inappropriate for certain situations. And I feel like that applies to free the nipple. Yeah. That is my rant. I think everybody should support it. Women's bodies should not be, like, criminalized.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is it. So, moving on. Now we're going to step into a little segment I like to call Tips for Tits.
Tips for tits.
Tips for tits. And Kellyanne here, we've talked about this, but you worked at Victoria's Secret for several years. You are a bra specialist, a boob specialist. You can look at someone from 30 feet distance and determine their bra size. Like, she's got a magical gift.
Like 99% accuracy.
99.9% accuracy. I guarantee you she could size you from afar. So... that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
And you know a lot about boobs as a result. So we want to know, like, what are your biggest tips for tits?
Well, I would say my biggest tip is to make sure you actually know your size. A lot of women think they're 36B. If you are a true 36B, wow, you are like less than like 3% of the population. It is probably the least common size in the array of size options.
Really, but everyone thinks they're that size.
Everyone thinks they're 36B. So here's the phrase that we use, or at least we used in my day at Victoria's Secret. A band is a band is a band. So your band number, no matter what the cup size of the bra, is the same. A 32A is exactly the same band size as a 32 triple D. A cup is not a cup is not a cup. Your cup is what changes. So if you go, for example, 32C, that is the same cup size as a 34B. And then same cup size as a 36A. So your cup is what fluctuates and grows. So a lot of women are like a 32D, which is the same cup size as a 36B, but women get really freaked out about like back fat for some reason, which is skin. And it's just the reality of life. If your bra fits, you're going to have some like chub. You actually want that band tight. You only want to be able to pull it about 2-3 inches from your body, and you want it low. But other than that, it's just know your lifestyle. Like if you are super athletic and you have big boobs, yeah, you probably want something that's really going to support you because that can hurt. But if you're super small chested and you go to work and hike and just like kind of do more like quote unquote chill activities, you just need something chill, but also like know what feels good for you. I feel good in a bra. I love wearing bras. I love my bras and my panties to match. I like to feel really cute. I want to know I'm cute without you knowing I'm cute.
A secret cute.
I'm
under the
secretly
clothes.
really cute.
Guys, she's obviously really cute. Let me just tell you.
And so that's what feels good for me. But also I'm aware there's like so many lifestyles. Something else is you definitely want 3 bras. A lot of women don't know this. And I would tell them, listen, you don't need to buy from me. I actually don't care, but you need at least 3 main bras because you wear your bra and then you let it rest for 2 days. And then you wear your bra and then you let it rest for 2 days. So you're rotating through.
Does the bra get a little tired? What does that mean for it to rest?
If you wear the same bra every day, you are going to have a very short lifespan for that bra, which means you're just going to stretch it out. It's like a pair of underwear. If you wore the same pair of underwear every day, that pair of underwear is lasting
That would get gross.
not very much time. Same thing with the bra. You want to give it some breathing room.
So like the elastic can reset?
The elastic can rest.
Okay. Interesting.
And so then instead of having your bra for like maybe a year, you're going to have your 3 bras for like 5 years.
Wow. So it's not just like each bra gets a year, so you'd have 3 years worth of time. It's that you're letting them rest and like reset, and that actually extends their life. So that 3 bras could last 5 years instead of a bra a year or something.
Well, here's a question I've always wondered because I don't know. I feel like we apply different standards to bras and washing them. How often and how does one wash their bra properly?
Great question. I love this question. So personally, let's get real. You should probably be washing your bra like every few weeks. Do I wash my bra every few weeks? Absolutely not. But a great tip, technically you should wash your bras by hand, right? But a great tip that I learned from a former bra specialist.
By hand.
No
like,
one.
In the United States, we just don't even have a frame of reference.
I don't
for
have
that.
time. But something I learned from a former bra specialist is if you actually wear your bra in the shower with you, you can actually like scrub some soap in there and rinse it out and then take it off, hang it up. And
Do you do that?
I have done it.
Okay.
I don't practice it now.
Sure.
My go-to is you get a nice little lingerie bag, you fold your bra up in it, and you toss that baby in the washer, and then lay flat to dry. Never dry your bras. Never, never.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had a friend who, that was the advice she did, and I've implemented that ever since. Is my bras, I put them in a bra bag, and I wash them with my clothes, and then I hang them.
Yep. That's what I always do.
And they lasted a lot longer that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, this bra I'm wearing now, I have had this bra for 3 years, and it's still going strong. Another thing is your boobs can fluctuate. Like my boobs for 2 weeks out of the month are roughly a 32D. The other half, they're like a 32 double D. Like they fluctuate with my hormones, they change. Also, your boobs continue to settle and change as you get older. I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen like 89-year-old boobs. I've seen women that are coming in to get fitted even though they just had a boob job and they're definitely not ready to get sized because they're so excited.
Was it that like their boobs are swollen and healing?
You have about 6 weeks from what I've learned. For your boobs, one, you want the swelling to go down, and you literally have like a tube thing attached to you to like drain. And then you actually your implants actually settle. And so after that settling period is when you want to get resized. Also, every brand is different, just the same as every pair of jeans that you could buy from Levi's versus PacSun versus, any other brand, there's going to be varying. So just because you're like a 32D or whatever, by the way, 32D is not that big. People hear that and they're like, oh my God, that's my grandma's bra. No, it's not. I'm a 32D and I have fairly small boobs. But yeah, your size is going to change across brands. So if you are more interested in some other brands, I would suggest getting resized.
Yeah, and it sounds like maybe you also should get resized sort of regularly, maybe every few years or something. I don't know.
That's
if
what
your
I would
boobs
suggest.
fluctuate.
Yeah, I would absolutely suggest that.
What would you say are some of the top signs that you have an ill-fitting bra?
Ooh, another great question. If you have gapping in your bra, your band is not tight enough. 80% of your bra's support comes from the band around the back. If your cups are gapping, your band is also probably arching up on your back. Again, you want that band snug and low on your body. You don't want it arching up, because if it's arching up, you can have all kinds of weird cup issues happen. Another thing is if the side wire is cutting into you, then your cup's too small. You actually want that wire to hit kind of where your breast tissue ends. I mean, technically your breast tissue kind of extends like up into your armpit, but like you should be able to feel the difference between like boob on the side with the cup and like rib on the side without the cup.
I used to have like, what's the word?
Double boobs?
Double
Spill.
boobs. Yeah,
Yep.
spill.
Over the
yeah.
top.
Spill. Yeah, too small. Too small cup size.
Yeah, sometimes, changes not month to month, but time of the month sometimes.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and like you have sometimes one that's bigger than the other. Size to the bigger boob is my personal suggestion.
That's what I do with my feet.
Yeah, there you go. Size to the bigger foot.
They're half a size different. It's a struggle.
And guys, also like, again, I've seen so many boobs over the years. Like your boobs are probably absolutely normal. Like big nipples, small nipples, one way bigger than the other, really saggy nipples. If your nipples shoot off to the side, like super normal. Like
Dark, light.
If you're really
Hairy.
if your boobs like hang really low, also super normal. You might want to scoop though, like scoop into your bra.
Yeah.
Hairy nipples, like
Okay, so I have this one black hair.
I'm amazed there's only one.
Just one. I have one black hair on my right boob, and every, week, I have to pluck it.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, there she is again. Pluck.
Oh.
I don't know why. I just have always had this one black hair.
mean, I
it's
have
not like a freckle or anything.
multiples.
It's just random.
I have multiple hairs on my boobs, so
Well,
that's
I have
amazing.
other hairs on my boobs, but this one specifically black hair.
Yeah, really dark. Like,
Yes.
hey.
She's like, hi.
You're like, hello, I'm here, ready to play. And you're like, nope, out of the game.
Like, not
You
today.
Plucking me out
Back on the
today.
side. You're not
But
in play.
I feel like, when I first got sized for real, it was life-changing. I have been wearing a 34C, I think, for most of my life, which is the wrong band size. It's the wrong cup size. It's like the basic thing that's available at your average Target or Walmart, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the average department stores don't offer a wider selection of sizes, but they have the basics, And so that was my bra, and I had horrible ill-fitting bras. They were high in the back. I had spillage. I had gapping. I had straps that were like digging into my
because you're trying to
shoulders.
keep it tight.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I must need to tighten my straps.
Yes. Yeah. Usually, what I've learned, your strap is not the problem.
Nope.
Yes, it's the band and the cup size, and it can change your life. So
It can.
that's
Also, bralettes are
super
awesome.
helpful. Bralettes. I have a hard time finding bralettes.
They can be hard. You need one with more of a coverage to like actually have the support. But
It's
like,
just they're usually not like distributed in specific sizes. They're
Right.
distributed in like small, medium, large, and I don't.
well, and they go
fit in
in
any of those.
phases
Yeah.
too, right? There are some where it's like, oh, this is a small like A to C, and then this is like a small like D to double D.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, is this super stretchy? Because I don't remember us having an 8C sized boob.
I know.
That's a huge range, I think. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
bralettes are great if you can find ones that fit. Mm-hmm. But I think bras are great. I prefer to wear a bra. But there's one of us here, Emma, who does not prefer the bra thing. And so we're going to step into our next segment of the podcast for the day called To Bra or Not to Bra.
That is the question, isn't it,
Emma
folks?
has the answer.
Well, I would say the answer really is do whatever feels good for you. And that's how I started the journey of not wearing a bra. Honestly, it was just a progression of comfort. I used to wear traditional bras, and then I started wearing bralettes as they came into popularity, like, I guess like around the time when we were in college. So that was like the 2011, 2012-ish, no, 2014, 2015-ish. And I started wearing bralettes, and then as another step towards comfort, I started wearing these things called nippies.
Yeah.
Which are, if anybody doesn't know, that's essentially like a little silicone, like boob-shaped thing. It's just a silicone circle that you stick onto your boobs, and it just sticks there, and it keeps your nipples from poking out. And I think that some people call them chicken cutlets, and those are ones that are a little different. Those usually add some volume to the boobs, I think. Chicken cutlets do. But nippies are strictly just like nipple suppression, not adding anything really. And now I'm pretty much braless all the time and nippyless and everything. I just put shirts on. And the occasional bralette for an outfit, maybe, if it like is part of the look. I wear sports bras, like if I'm doing an activity that would be necessary.
Yes, absolutely. You don't want them like,
Yes,
hurting,
yes. Or sometimes just wearing a sports bra if I'm like hot and I'm hiking or something or whatever, rock climbing. But I think that going braless is becoming more and more popular, especially as like the 90s have been coming back and like the Jennifer Aniston look of like your nipples sort of poking through your shirt is becoming a little bit more acceptable again. And that sort of like helps me out a little bit because it's a little more acceptable for me to like wear certain shirts and not put nippies on. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with like seeing some like little nipple bumps.
About a nipple?
Like,
I think they're so pretty.
Yeah.
Nipples are great.
They are. They really are. And I've also been told that it does feel nice to hug me because it's just soft. There's no like
anything.
metal. There's
It's
no
not
anything. I was very surprised when I learned. I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess I'll take that and no anyone noticed. And that's something that's actually really interesting. I feel like I was very worried that people would notice that I don't wear a bra, especially when I started getting into more professional workspaces. And I was very surprised that pretty much whenever I would start talking to like a girlfriend at work or something about it, when I first like had an office job, they would be so shocked that I didn't wear a bra because they didn't even like notice that was a thing. And honestly, I think people just aren't really paying as much attention to you as you think they are at the end of the day. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with not wearing a bra. I think that not wearing a bra is often seen as like a feminist symbol. And that wasn't necessarily my motivation going into it. It was genuinely a pursuit of comfort. But I think that I have like started to gain more and more appreciation for going braless in that it does feel like I'm making sort of a statement with that. I think that sometimes I think about bras and I'm like, this is the patriarchy. They're trying to tell us that our boobs need to conform to a certain shape and a certain look. And that's not even how boobs actually look. Boobs are all like pointy and have like different curves. They're not a perfect little like round hill
bubble on your chest. Yeah,
that like bras often make boobs look like them, and that's like a cartoon of what a boob actually looks like. And I think that like it makes like I think that there's like societal beauty standards that go along with that, and I think that at the same time as I contemplate and wrestle with that, I also recognize that like for a lot of women, wearing a bra is a matter of comfort because their boobs are going to like knock against one another or get in the way or hurt as they like try to just walk around and like live their life. Or like that it can also be a way to relieve back pain and things like that. And I recognize that I have like sort of small boob privilege in that sense, in that like I don't have to worry about those things. And so, I mean, it's not like I'm going to like run a marathon without a sports bra on or something, but I don't have to worry so much about those things. And, you know, it's not to say that like it is bad for women to wear bras. I think that what's bad is expecting women to wear bras, because that's going to make you, an outsider, feel comfortable.
For
like
sure.
it should make her feel comfortable.
Yep.
And if you wear a bra, like, you know what, we can take down the patriarchy in other ways. If you don't want to wear a bra, join me on the braless journey.
I agree with that. To me, it's funny because somehow wearing a bra has become more modest than not wearing a bra.
Yeah.
Right? Like altering the shape of your boobs is somehow more considerate of others than just letting your boobs be what they are, which is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
And I think probably growing up, I wore bras for a beauty standard, like, you know, that perfect bubble boob look. But now as I'm older, I honestly feel like boobs natural to me are more, quote, sexual than boobs in a bra. And that it would make people uncomfortable for me to not wear a bra than to wear one. And so that's always usually my struggle, on top of the fact that, as we've said, I have larger boobs, larger breasticles, whatever you want to call them. And so there's boob sweat and there's, you know, other bouncing problems and other issues that I prefer a bra because of.
Yeah.
But I do think maybe this could be a challenge for us all to like try it for a day. You know, like take a weekend when you're not going to work. See what it's like.
Yeah.
Let them be free.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think even like, I know women who would feel insecure, like if they're having sort of a, you know, bumming around the house day, they're like just wearing a sweatshirt, no bra, whatever, and they need to like run out to grab a snack or something, run to the grocery store, they feel the pressure to like put a bra on, even though you can't even really tell that you have boobs when you're wearing like a baggy sweatshirt and that kind of thing. And like, I feel like that makes me like a little bit like, oh, like I wish that you'd feel like you can just go and be fine and not like have to put a bra on when like you're not even, it's not even like you're in a professional setting, you're not you're just running to the store to grab something and like you can just run back.
Well, definitely for me, like I wear contact lenses. I am visually challenged. But I've noticed like when I put contacts in, it's like I feel awake and I feel like I can start the day versus if I wear glasses all day, I sort of like feel like tired and like bummy.
You associate them with
you associate glasses with downtime and contacts with uptime. And I think it's similar with a bra for me. If I don't have a bra on, sometimes I feel like I can't enter into the day. I feel like I have to like bum it out. So I don't know. It is interesting.
But see, I'm talking about like bum days. In
totally.
That, like it's
I know. But yeah, I think it's funny how bras have just like become the standard when it's like we actually don't need to wear these. Like
Totally.
why is this?
I would say some women probably, I mean, not that they like need to, but it would probably be more beneficial for them to wear them.
Yeah.
Just from like strictly like a health and like ease of life perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's super true. I have had quite a fair share of clients back in the day that like came in like in tears and were like, you have no idea how much you changed my life because I don't have back pain or headaches or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there are women that like, actually, I need help holding these big, beautiful gals up so that there's not the strain, which it can also be bad for your posture if you're like hunching over because your boobs are heavy. Like that's reality. But I think though it is fun to challenge yourself. I mean, especially if you're not used to going out in public without a bra. It's fun to just like try it out, see what happens. But let's get real. At the end of the day, I am still always so glad and excited to take off the bra. Even though I love my bras, I think it's so fun and so feminine and I feel comfortable. But that moment of, is like nothing else.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, thank you, Emma. We appreciate
You're welcome.
all of your expertise. And thank you, Kellyanne. It's just
Thank you.
incredible to have like a bra expert in the room with us.
Broxpert.
Broxpert.
That sounds like a weird plant.
Brexpert sounds like Brexit.
Brexit.
Yeah,
There's not really good.
Sounds like someone who's an
shouldn't have even tried.
expert about Brexit. Anyways, bra expert. We're just going to go with that. We're going to go with bra expert.
Yes, that's good.
So with that, I have another question. And this always sort of this does circle back a little bit to the sexualization of our bodies and things like that. But always a little bit of a controversial topic. What do you guys think?
We hate controversial topics
Yeah,
here on
we
Woman
don't.
Being.
We really
we never
we try
broach
to steer
those.
away from them. But I thought just this one time
Never
we could
into the
we
controversy.
could go into it. But like, what do you guys think about boob jobs? Yay, nay?
Hey,
Hey,
what do you say?
I
What do you
mean,
say?
I think I actually follow this really great holistic plastic surgeon on YouTube, and he does a lot of like cool TikToks
Of
and
course
stuff.
you do.
But I think it's so individualized. Like we got a lot of comments about like, oh, I just feel like my boobs are small and I want to feel sexy, or the idea that bigger boobs are better than smaller boobs. I mean.
Yeah.
I think what's sexy to someone is highly subjective, and then also based on how you feel. I know many women, I've sized many women that have had boob jobs. I think if it makes you feel good about you, and it's because you want them, and you've done the work of like, am I doing this for someone? Am I doing it because I think society, expects it of me or whatever? I think go for it. Like, it's actually none of my business. But if you feel pressure to do it, apparently there's a lot of pressure from women, from spouses to get them, or I'm a model and I need bigger boobs to get better jobs or whatever. Or like, I think you should really assess that and take that into deep consideration, and also know the risks. Like you can get sick from your implants. I know women that have had to get them out because it made them sick. Or if something goes wrong, God forbid, your nipple can turn black and fall off. So sorry. I just
Is that
said
for
it.
real? Are you kidding?
No, I'm dead
my
serious.
Oh my gosh.
I'm dead serious. Like, assess the risks. Also know, like, don't go to like Mexico because it's cheap. You want to work with
Get
a
a
doctor.
high-class plastic
Get a
surgeon.
high-class plastic surgeon. But I don't shame boob jobs. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's not a problem with changing anything about yourself as long as it's something for you, like something that makes you happy. But anything outside of that, I'm like, girl, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Like, try a push-up bra, or like, better yet, go braless and feel the freedom. And just, I think knowing like feeling sexy comes from your own inner work.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, sexy is a mindset, right? Sexy is how you feel about yourself. And I think that if you are coming from a place of insecurity in getting a boob job, or really any plastic surgery, you're not going to feel different after you've had that plastic surgery. Like the mental things are still going to be there, and there's still going to be something that you can find to feel insecure about, honestly. That's what I think. I think that if you want a boob job, if you really feel like that's something you want, do it. Actually, a lot of women in my family have boob jobs. And I do know a woman who whose husband bought her a boob job, and that makes me feel a little bit weird, I'm going to be honest. Also, just the idea of like 2 silicone sacs like inside my body freaks me out.
Stressful.
Like, I also know someone who had a one of her like silicone things leaked. Yeah, it broke and it leaked, and she had to have emergency surgery because the toxins were getting into her bloodstream and literally could kill her. And one thing that's interesting is that technically boob jobs only have like, I think, a 10-year warranty on them. So like they really only last like 10 years, and you have to get it redone. Because it wears out or something.
Yep.
And so it sort of like becomes a choice of like lifetime maintenance, and your boobs will never really be the same again. But like if that's something that you really, really want, and you feel like it's like in the same way that I really wanted, you know, red hair my whole life, and so I decided to dye my hair red, and or I really wanted tattoos, and so I got tattoos. Like that's just as much modifying my body. But it's just, I think that when it comes to breast implants or just like plastic surgery things in general, there is a lot of societal pressure to conform to specific beauty standards. And like the thing is, at the end of the day, beauty standards come and go. Like what is popular changes. And we've seen that even just in our lifetimes on like what the beauty standards are has changed. It used to be really popular to have a really flat butt because it meant that you were super skinny and that you were like having a model's body. And now people love the big butt. And it's about having the Kardashian butt, and the Brazilian butt lift has become a huge, huge plastic surgery that people do.
I listened to a whole podcast about that.
Yeah. And so like, are you going to modify something about your body just based off of what really at the end of the day is a trend? And you're going to be stuck with that trend for the rest of your life unless you get like corrective plastic surgery afterwards. And like going through a whole surgical procedure for that, I just think there's a lot to consider.
Also, the healing process can be rough.
Yeah.
Like, these are the women I know that I've worked with. You have to like wear this strap thing that like basically holds your boobs in place. So you have to do that for like a hot second, and you literally have like stuff attached to you to collect any excess fluids.
Yeah.
Like
you're like draining.
You're
You've
draining.
undergone
You literally
a major operation.
have a little tube attached collecting your drainage.
Yeah.
It's gross. And then there's the stitches and the scarring and all that stuff. But like you're like seriously like healing for a while. And I'm like, ugh. Like, I don't want to do that for like anything. So I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, at least for me, when it comes to plastic surgery in general, Botox, etc., I scorn the beauty standards that require that of people. But I also, I think similar to wearing a bra versus not, like I also feel like if that feels right to you, you can totally smash the patriarchy in other ways.
Yeah.
Like Emma just said.
Totally.
Like I don't think it's right for anybody to feel good or bad about themselves based on the size of their boobs. But if you want to do something that's fun for you, like I'm going to go blonde or I'm going to get eyelash extensions or whatever that may be, I also feel like that's free choice. I think, yes, again, assess the risks, do what's best for you. But
Yeah, sure.
at the end of the day, like it's not right or wrong.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I will say that there are situations where boob jobs can be really, really like liberating. So for
Totally.
women who have had like breast cancer and wind up having to essentially have like their breasts amputated.
Yep.
A lot of those women will get boob jobs to like, you know, reclaim their femininity and like make their body feel normal again.
Yep.
And there's even tattoo artists that will tattoo realistic nipples onto women who have those operations, and it is very cool.
It is cool.
And so like that kind of thing is like a woman trying to come back into her own body and not feel like she has been so, you know, ravaged by this sickness.
Totally.
And I think that's really beautiful. And I just want to say that to also caveat that, you know, there are situations where a boob job can be very liberating and empowering.
And on that same note, the boob reductions can change women's lives. Like women that have just really, really large breasts that cause health complications or just the reality of like trying to do life with like H-size boobs, like that can be really hard and challenging. And so, yeah, I mean, I remember, was it Ariel Winter? Yeah, Ariel Winter, the actress from Modern Family. She got a boob reduction really young, and people gave her a lot of flack for it. And she's like, this like changed my life. Like, I don't think you understand what it's like to try to navigate everyday life with like G boobs. And so, I mean, also on the other side, like if you want a boob reduction, like just know your why. And
Yeah.
if it's something that's going to drastically improve your life, I say do it.
More power to you. Power to the people.
Power to the boobs.
Power to the woman. All that to say, we are an equal opportunity boobs entity. So all boobs are
cherished.
Good boobs.
cherished and loved.
Yes.
Old, young, braless,
Big areolas,
ruffle, big areolas, small areolas,
dark
All
nipples,
range of
light
colors.
nipples,
sharp nipples, soft nipples,
off to the
Nipples that
side
can
nipples,
cut through ice.
different direction nipples.
nipples
Yes.
that have breastfed, nipples
Nipples
that have
that
not.
follow you across the room and anywhere you go.
Wow. They're like a little Mona Lisa nipples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a belief that if we had lipsticks that like matched our areola colors, it would probably look perfect on everyone.
Really?
I would, yeah, I'm here for that.
Interesting.
Let's
So
do
try
it.
to like match your lipstick color. To
Yeah.
and that was the perfect
That's your
color to
color.
complement your face.
I have a theory that that's probably true.
I don't think Ulta would like
we
me
should
whipping my
come
nipple
out-
out to compare it to
We
all
should
the
come
swatches.
out with a areola colored lipstick brand.
Wouldn't that be stunning?
Woman being.
Watch out. This is the new Woman Being merch that is coming out
It's called
at an Ulta near you.
Nip lips.
Nip lips. Lippy nippies.
I
my
think that
word.
is a genius idea, trademark, Woman Being podcast.
If we say copyright, no one can steal it.
But yeah, it's been great talking with you guys today. You ladies today, I should say. I think it's unfortunate that boobs they've been through a lot, okay? They've been
They
through
have.
a lot. And we want to celebrate them. And we want to also, let's apply a little bit more apathy to boobs, I would say, overall.
You mean empathy?
Apathy.
Or apathy?
Let's
Oh.
stop freaking out about them
Yes.
as much.
Yeah.
Let's...
Look, take away all the concern, all the hoopla.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah. Yep.
Your boob is just like an elbow, is just like
Yeah.
a knee, is just
Yeah.
like a butt cheek.
Yeah.
It's just a part of your body, just
Yeah.
like every other part of your body is. And you don't need to freak out.
Yeah.
Men, boobs are not that big a deal. Just
Totally.
I don't
Like,
know.
if you see a nipple poking through the shirt, you already knew that was there.
Yeah, it's not like a surprise.
Like, oh my God, she has
forgot
nipples?
there were nipples. Yeah. So I just feel like in general as a society, let's move forward in the direction of boobs are body parts that belong to a human.
There you
And the human is the most important part. So, but yeah, we'll wrap there. I want to remind you all, I know we did this at the top, but we're going to do a bottomless plug
Bottomless.
too. Bottomless plug, which is, that's going to be our next podcast.
All about butts.
You can follow us at Woman Being Podcast on Instagram or TikTok. You can visit our website at www.womanbeingcommunity.com. And please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That actually makes a huge difference in our ability to be found and to find other lovely woman beings like you.
Absolutely. And we're on all the other podcast platforms too.
Yes.
We
All
got
of them.
Stitcher. We got Amazon. We got Spotify. You can actually do video of us
Yes,
on
we
Spotify
are officially
now.
video on Spotify,
Yes.
which is
Wow.
exciting. So if
Yeah.
you want to see our beautiful faces
Yeah. But besides that,
and
also
our beautiful
YouTube.
boobs,
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah, it's not that kind of podcast.
All that to say, thank you so much for joining us today, woman beings, and we will see you next week. Ta-ta for now.
Oh, bye.